You think you can just accuse me of cheating while I was away on business and demand a divorce? My husband, Jackson, bellowed through the phone. It should have been a jolting moment, but I knew better. This was just his attempt at stirring up drama. I already sold it. And you know what? I could practically feel his emotions quivering on the other end. Did he honestly believe I wouldn't see through his little charade? His naivety was almost comical. As his accusations continued to ricochet off my resolve, I found myself teetering between anger and amusement. Yet, amidst it all, a sense of empowerment began to emerge. This wasn't just a spat. This was a turning point. This was the moment I decided to take control. I chuckled inwardly at his feeble attempt to manipulate me. And then, as if the universe had aligned, a realization dawned on me. It was my turn to play. I'm Olivia, a 28-year-old working mom. Though I've held a steady job at a college store since I graduated from junior college at 20, Jackson's career trajectory has been less than stable. He's 2 years older, but when we first met 3 years ago, he was bouncing between jobs or sometimes doing nothing at all. He proposed to me hastily, but I set a condition. He needed to secure a stable job. I wasn't about to embark on a marriage without considering our future. Okay, but there's a condition, I asserted firmly, watching Jackson's expression shift to one of concern. What is it? He asked cautiously. You need to find a stable job. Otherwise, marriage is out of the question. We need to think about our future. He attempted to brush it off with a casual remark. Oh, don't worry, you're working, so there's no rush, right? But my parents would be concerned if I married without a job. I'll find one before we tie the knot, he promised, sensing the seriousness in my tone. Reluctantly, Jackson embarked on his job search journey. Eventually, he secured an office position at a construction company, and we moved forward with our plans to wed. At the time, I saw Jackson as somewhat careless with money and work, but I believed our partnership could balance each other out. I thought I could guide him towards financial responsibility, and he would complement my strengths. Little did I know, our challenges were just beginning. About a year into our marriage, as we were exploring the idea of buying a house, Jackson revealed a troubling obstacle. I might not qualify for a loan, he confessed casually. I was taken aback. What do you mean? I pressed for an explanation. He shrugged. Because I haven't been at my job long enough, I might need a guarantor for the loan. The only option would be my dad, but he's dealing with some serious gambling debts. He probably wouldn't be able to help. Why didn't you tell me this earlier? I was dumbfounded, especially with the contract and the real estate agent right in front of us. But Jackson, appearing unfazed, nonchalantly remarked, If we put the house in your name, it'll be fine, right? You've been at your job forever, so you can secure the loan. We'll both contribute to paying it off. It's just a formality. That's beside the point. Why didn't you bring this up before? This is significant for me too. I'm not even prepared with the paperwork, I retorted, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. Though he offered an apology, his contrition felt superficial, lacking sincerity. Despite my urge to protest further, faced with the already arranged contract and the presence of the agent, I decided against escalating the situation. Reluctantly, I hastily gathered the necessary documents, such as my income statement, for the loan application, and impulsively finalized the purchase under my name. Doubt not at me. Could I truly envision a future with this man? Perhaps I should have simply asserted, then we won't proceed, instead of hastily preparing the paperwork. My anxiety heightened with the looming issue of my in-laws. The other day, I had a conversation with Dad, Jackson began. He mentioned he might lose the house due to the debt I mentioned earlier, so he's considering moving in with us. Is that all right? What? Why would you even entertain that idea? I reacted swiftly, but Jackson merely shrugged it off. Well, he's facing difficulties. My brother is single, but he's working abroad. I'm the only one Dad can turn to. Shouldn't we seriously discuss this? Maybe he can stay temporarily until he finds a place, but committing to living with us permanently is a major decision. Jackson scowled. You just don't want him to stay, do you? If he moves in, we can divide the living expenses. You're always going on about money. You mean the money you never contribute? You promised we'd split the mortgage, but it's only coming out of my paycheck. You haven't given your share. In marriage, finances are shared. It's not just your money, it's ours. It's deducted from your account because the house is in your name. Stop being so self-centered, I exclaimed, frustration evident in my tone. But Jackson simply muttered, I hate discussing money, before storming out of the room. Such disputes became a regular occurrence. Every time, Jackson would brush off my concerns and eventually retreat. No resolution was ever reached. However, Jackson wasn't entirely inactive regarding his family's predicament. As part of his role in construction site administration, he frequently dealt with real estate contracts. He often consulted a specific agency on how to secure the best price for selling his family's home and the necessary procedures involved. I overheard these discussions repeatedly, finding solace in the fact that I wasn't alone in contemplating this matter. Yet the prospect of my in-laws moving in with us post-sale, as if it were a foregone conclusion, continued to unsettle me. Jackson began attending meetings with real estate agents and my in-laws without involving me, and he started spending more weekends away from home. Eventually, he embarked on a lengthy business trip lasting several months, necessitated by the distance of the construction site he was overseeing. It wasn't apparent to me then, but the seeds of our power struggle had already been sown. A few days after Jackson departed for his trip, I decided to treat myself to tea after a shopping excursion. Hello, the man who greeted me seemed familiar. Memories flooded back, recalling him as someone Jackson had once brought home. He worked at a real estate company, a young employee named Samuel, according to Jackson. Samuel had been with the company for less than a year. Ah, yes, I remember you. You visited our house before, right? Yes, I apologize for dropping by unannounced and even joining for a meal. My apologies. No need to worry. I should have been more welcoming. We ended up sharing tea together. Samuel was affable and appeared more level-headed than Jackson, despite his youth. As we conversed over tea, we found common ground and eventually bid each other farewell. At that moment, I couldn't fathom that this brief encounter would later be twisted into an accusation of infidelity. Yet that's precisely what happened when Jackson confronted me. You've been cheating on me while I was away, haven't you? We're getting a divorce. Give the house to my parents and leave, immediately. Jackson's accusation hit me like a sledgehammer. In that moment, I couldn't help but wonder if the rumors were true. Jackson had evidently been spreading falsehoods, fabricating a narrative of my infidelity to justify his desire for divorce. And the bearer of this false tale was none other than Samuel, the man Jackson unjustly accused me of having an affair with. He showed up at my doorstep the day after our tea. I apologize for the sudden visit yesterday. Jackson asked me to reach out to you. Samuel confessed as he stood at my doorway. Shock and confusion washed over me, but I invited him inside, eager to hear his story. What he revealed left me stunned. Jackson had orchestrated a plan to frame me for infidelity, all in a bid to secure a divorce. Samuel was roped into fabricating evidence to support this scheme. There were two motives driving Jackson's deceitful agenda. Firstly, he coveted our house, fearing the potential loss of his parents-in-law's property. Jackson saw cohabiting with his parents as the easiest solution, but my resistance to the idea led him to devise a plan to oust me and claim the property. Secondly, Jackson was involved in an affair of his own, spending weekends with his mistress while pretending to discuss matters with my parents-in-law. His infatuation with her led him to view me, his wife, as an impediment. By framing me for infidelity, he hoped to secure both the house and compensation in the divorce settlement. Despite my perception of Jackson's lack of astuteness, his cunning nature in orchestrating such a devious plan was truly despicable. As I muttered my disdain, Samuel offered his apologies. However, I had no intention of aiding Jackson in his malicious scheme. I feigned cooperation, all the while plotting to turn the tables on him. Samuel, leveraging his expertise in real estate, offered various suggestions. Eventually, he proposed a daring move. You should sell the house while Jackson is away on his trip. And so, when Jackson returned, bewildered by the news of the sale, I delivered the final blow. I know everything, Jackson. Samuel recorded everything, including your attempt to frame me for cheating with him. If we proceed with divorce, I can claim alimony and take you to court, I declared, relishing the shock that registered on Jackson's face. Why? Why? He stammered. But I wasn't finished. I had one last card to play. You might not have realized, but Samuel isn't just any new employee. He's the son of the company's CEO. I emphasized, incredulous at Jackson's obliviousness. Didn't you notice Samuel shares the same last name as the CEO? How did that escape your notice? I pressed, my frustration mounting. Well, Samuel's last name isn't exactly uncommon, Jackson attempted to rationalize. Are you serious right now? I couldn't believe his lack of awareness. Yes, I'm serious, Jackson replied, his shock palpable. The realization dawned on him slowly. Samuel's company was one of Jackson's most crucial clients, and they had played a significant role in handling his family's property matters. If news of this deceit reached the CEO, Jackson would undoubtedly find himself in hot water. In fact, Samuel had likely already reported the situation. Look, fine, I'll check it out. But if you're lying, I'll figure it out. Jackson relented before abruptly ending the call. It didn't take long for him to realize the gravity of his actions. Subsequently, the real estate company owned by Samuel's father refused to engage in any business dealings with Jackson or offer him advice regarding his family property. With my house sold, Jackson had no option but to return to his family home following his business trip. Fortunately, Samuel had assisted me in finding an affordable apartment, so I encountered no difficulties. As I initiated the divorce proceedings, Jackson persisted in reaching out to me. I'm sorry, Olivia. Please forgive me, he pleaded. It's too late for apologies now. You tried to manipulate me using someone else. Why should I believe anything you say? I countered. Don't say that. After our divorce, you can be with that other woman, right? That's what you wanted, isn't it? He suggested, attempting to deflect blame. Yeah, she had someone else she liked and dumped me. What a sorry tale. But just because of that, don't expect me to change my mind and come running back to you. I muttered as I ended the call with a heavy sigh. Despite not disclosing my current address to him in hopes of keeping him at bay, Jackson's incessant calls persisted. Each time he pleaded, please don't leave me. I'll change. I'll be a better husband. Yet I was weary of his hollow promises. Once the divorce is finalized, I'll delete his number, block him on WhatsApp, and sever ties completely. To make matters worse, even my mother-in-law reached out, begging, please, Olivia, we'll be lost without you. It's not me you wanted, it's the house, right? But there's no house left, I reminded her. It wasn't just about the house. We're not that heartless. Come back, and you'll understand, she implored. You wanted the money, didn't you? I shot back, frustration seeping into my voice. That's not true. You're being unfair. You attempted to coerce me into living with you, and when I refused, Jackson resorted to deceit to gain leverage in the divorce. I can't trust someone who resorts to such tactics, I asserted firmly. It's obvious you're only interested in money. I continued to rebuff their pleas. Then my father-in-law called, his tone dripping with arrogance. Isn't it your duty as a daughter-in-law to assist my wife a little? Are you seriously refusing? Isn't all of this a consequence of the debts you've accumulated? I countered, my resolve unwavering. In response, his voice on the phone grew so loud that it hurt my ears. You heartless woman. Abandoning your mother-in-law in her time of need and shifting blame onto her. I'll teach you a lesson, you wicked woman. With that, I ended the call, shaken but determined. Armed with the recorded audio, I sought counsel from my lawyer. As it transpired, my father-in-law's words constituted a threat. Armed with this evidence, I informed Jackson that I'd pursue legal action if he didn't agree to the divorce. In a panic, Jackson reluctantly consented to the divorce. Finally, I was free from the clutches of that outrageous family. After the divorce, Jackson's reputation at work suffered, leading to a loss of trust and diminished responsibilities. Additionally, the unresolved debt forced him to sell his family home at a steep discount. Now, he resides in a modest apartment with his parents, grappling with a reduced salary and the burden of supporting his family. To compound his challenges, he is obligated to pay me alimony. Learning about Jackson's struggles firsthand from Samuel, who remained a confidant, I discovered an opportunity to leverage my customer service skills from my previous role at a clothing store. Samuel, now working in the HR department of a real estate company, recommended me for a position that required strong communication abilities. After careful consideration and discussions with Samuel, I accepted the offer and transitioned to the real estate company. Throughout this transition, Samuel and I maintained our close bond, which eventually blossomed into a romantic relationship. After a year of dating, we tied the knot, and I became the spouse of the future company president. Jackson likely never envisioned that the two individuals he attempted to falsely accuse of infidelity would ultimately find love and marry each other. Now surrounded by my supportive new family, including my in-laws, I look forward to building a beautiful life together with Samuel.